Positive energy and good vibrations from me to you. You have now tuned in to Imperfect Fathers Podcast.
Yo, what it do? Positive energy and good vibrations from me to you. You know what it is. It's another dope episode of the Imperfect Fathers Podcast. Yo, kings, queens, what it do out there in these good streets. Hope all is well. Hope everyone is blessed. Hope everybody having a phenomenal experience in life. That is my prayer. And as always, you guys always know I'm excited because we're about to have a phenomenal conversation with a good king that's taking care of his business as a man, as well as being a father. So before we do anything, around here, we got some things we got to take care of because we operate in decency and order. So with that being said, we got to pay the bills and talk to the Father. So let's get to that. Father, we thank you for another opportunity to say thank you. That right there in itself is worth money. It's worth a price to China. It's worth everything. And right now, God, we say thank you for it. Because we know there are some people right now who can't say thank you, who went to bed last night and didn't wake up this morning. But right now in this space, we say thank you because we are here and we are able to continue to do and operate and work your work down here on earth. So right now, Father, we say thank you for the opportunity. But we also ask you for the grace and space to go across these airways that we may say something may help edify, benefit, encourage a king out there to be not just a good version of himself, but the best version of himself for his children and generations to come. These are our prayers to you, Father, because only you can. In the matchless name of the Most High. Amen.
Amen.
Yo, so around this dope podcast, we've had some consistency, right? And these sponsors have been consistent since the day we opened up, probably till the day we shut it down, which is probably going to be never. But check this out. Them guys over at It's Now and Never Entertainment. Listen, for all your music needs, whether it be hip hop, R&B, gospel, you name it, those producers over there are creating music as we speak. So their catalog for music is literally miles long. So if you need any kind of music for long-term content, short reels, you name it, they have it. So go over there, shop smart, shop black, shop It's Now and Never Entertainment, and let them know that we sent you for the Imperfect Fathers Podcast. And if you use the word imperfect at checkout, you get 50% off on any beat in the store. Half off. So I'm telling you, use the word imperfect, go over there, shop smart, shop black, shop It's Now and Never Entertainment. Let them know we sent you. Peace, kings. Now, all the logistics is out the way, right? We done handled our business. We done, as men, responsibilities make you a man. So we've handled all our responsibilities on this podcast, and now we're about to have a dope conversation with a phenomenal king. So whatever you're doing, stop, put your hands together for a good friend of mine, a king in his own right, my brother Damon. Welcome to the platform, King. What it do?
Man, absolutely amazing, man. How are you?
Man, I'm still breathing and existing, so I'm blessed and highly favored, bro. You already know.
That's what I'm talking about. Listen, man, I'm extremely excited to be on your podcast. Nothing but professionalism over here. Your business acumen is absolutely incredible. I'm loving the vibes, man. Since I met you last Saturday and we talked about doing this, man, this is divine purpose. So I'm excited to give and serve.
Man, thank you so much once again for even taking time out of your schedule, King, because we understand that time is valuable. We cannot get it back, right? It's the only commodity that we cannot earn or get back. So whenever you spend time with someone, it's definitely an investment. So I appreciate the investment you're putting into me in my life right now and to everyone that's listening. So it's greatly appreciated, bro, for real, from the top to the bottom. You dig?
Absolutely.
All right, so do me a favor, bro. You are in these streets and you are doing phenomenal things. But if my audience doesn't know and they're under the rock, help them out a little bit. Let them know who you are, what you do, King.
Yeah, 100%. So again, my name is Damon Dillard. I am the high income sales coach. I do a number of different things, but I'm mostly known for motivation, inspiration, sales training. I run an insurance agency as well. But I'm excited about serving, man. I try to make sure that people understand who they are, whose they are, why they are where they are, but more importantly, how they can get to where they're looking to get to and do it in very, very practical steps. One of the things that was very discouraging to me in the beginning of my journey was trying to figure out and learn, hey, what do I do to change my situation? Because there's more information out there than honestly anybody knows what to do with. You can pretty much Google how to do anything. And so, when we get back to divine purpose, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, there's only one creator that really, really knows what he's created. And he gave you the manuscript. Basic instructions before leaving Earth is what I like to call it. Other people say it's the Bible. But as long as we tap back into that, we'll learn.
Hold on, you can't fly past that, bro. What you call the Bible again? What is that again?
basic instructions before leaving Earth.
All right. Well, we could stop the podcast now. That's all right. Thanks for coming, guys. That's enough. If that's not enough for you right now, wow. Basic instructions before you leave Earth. I truly and thoroughly appreciate that one. That was dope. Woo. You listen, write that down, y'all. Check that out. Write that down. That's a phenomenal reason to fall in love more with the Bible, because if you don't understand it's a book of instructions, right? Like when I was growing up, I was raised just Pentecostal, and not a lot of explanation happened in those churches, right? Just a lot of preaching at you, a lot of scriptures given to you, but they didn't explain what the book was, right? Like you just gave a definition to the book that we just call the Bible.
Yeah.
Basic instructions before you leave. So everything that we could possibly need is inside of that book.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
And that's knowledge right there, bro. I wish I would have known before I jumped into this journey of manhood and especially fatherhood. You see what I'm saying? 100%. And that's what we're going to dive in today, because, bro, fatherhood is an extremely heavy title.
Yeah.
If you think about it, what title's higher?
Yeah.
We say our Father who is in heaven, right? Like when we pray to the Father. There's no higher title than that. There's no higher a space or credit you can have, whether it be called the Father. So when that mantle is placed upon you, what did that change about you, bro? I want to get down to the nitty gritty, because this is what's going to help the younger generation, and as well as men our age and men older. Because if we begin to tell the truth about what our manhood has changed because of fatherhood, we'll also be able to teach the young ones before they jump into it what they're really going to get into, right?
Yeah.
What this game of fatherhood is really about. So I want to know, bro, what has fatherhood changed about you as a man, bro?
Yeah, I think I have an uncommon response typically to a lot of questions like this.
I'm
father,
ready for it.
Yeah. I'm a father of 5 children. And so my oldest is 17, my daughter Nevaeh. I have Malachi, Isaiah, Kyrie, and Journey. And actually, Kyrie is the youngest. And it's funny, man, becoming a father at 21 did change a lot. But recognition of the change that happened didn't happen until years later.
Right.
Like the dynamics of my life changed. I had more responsibility, but understanding the privilege that fatherhood is and allowing it to develop me into the man that God has created me to become. Because everything that happens in our life, he knew it was going to happen. Matter of fact, everything and everyone that comes into our lives is directing us in the direction of where he wants us to go. Now, some of the things we need to be saying no to, some of the things we need to go ahead and accept, right? But he knows it was there. And so, man, I know a lot of guys say, listen, the minute I had my first child, everything changed for me. No, man, I was still extremely selfish. I was still extremely arrogant, charismatic. Well, I shouldn't say charismatic, because that could be considered a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good trait.
But I heard somebody say it best. They said that arrogance is insecurity dressed up.
Yes.
And it didn't change me at that time. I honestly don't think that fatherhood changed me until probably about 28. And it was really changed because of the love of a woman. Because up to that point, nothing had really changed, man. Fatherhood is a journey. It's in leadership. I've had to develop as a leader. And of course, if you're going to lead anybody else, which leadership is nothing more than influence, I think defined by John Maxwell. But if you're going to lead other people, first, you got to learn how to lead yourself. And I wasn't sufficiently even leading me. And so how could I truly show somebody else how to lead and live their lives when I was still struggling? And so I remember a few years back, man, when I really started to understand what fatherhood was about and leaving an example and leaving a legacy. In one of my journals, I still actually have the journal here in my office. I wrote down, I said, from this point on, I'm going to live my life as if there was a 24-hour clock. There was a 24-hour surveillance on me, not only on my actions, but also my feelings. And my children at the end of my life will be able to watch the entire episode and decide whether it was a warning or whether it was an example. And so I'm by no means perfect, but I'm trying to give them more examples and warnings at this point in my life.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yo, bro. So now you got me thinking about that movie. What's that, The Truman Show? When Jim Carrey was like living on
Yeah. He was stuck on stage.
Yeah, for the world to see. And like that's a lot of pressure. But when the way you describe it, it's like it's a kind of it's sort of a good pressure because it's like, yo, it's a standard you've created. It's a standard that you created because the reason, bro, that that's the way you live your life. This is the reason I created this podcast is because I said an episode ago, like the reason why I do this is because I don't know if you had the opportunity to speak to your great grandfather or your grandfather, but I didn't. Most guys didn't get that chance. But what we're doing right now, my son's gonna be able to come press play and hear his grandfather's voice, right? See my mannerisms, check what I was doing at this certain time, what my thought process was in a certain space.
Yeah.
So when you say leaving more examples than warnings, man, that's a phenomenal space to be in because, bro, man, if we I tell everybody right now that's in this whole lifestyle that's born in this era of cameras, I really feel for you because you can't have fun like the way we have.
You ain't getting away with nothing. It's being screenshotted, it's being recorded.
Somebody's camera, somebody's ring bell caught it. You know what I'm saying? Like you are literally in the matrix now, and it's like I think back to all the things that we were doing, and like imagine right now if it was recorded somewhere. It was like, would we be here? Like, would we be in this space right now? I'm in perfect gentleman, but I still don't know if I'll be here in this space right now if it was all recorded.
100%.
But my question now for you, bro, is what was the major impact? No, before we do that, you said something in your statement that really, really resonated. What about that woman was the major change for you? You said it was the love of a woman, but what about that love? Explain that for the audience, bro. I told you. I told you on the boat. Hold on, sidebar right quick. So all the audience out there, y'all know me. I like to ask real crazy questions online, but if you imagine me in person, I told him, I say, bro, on the podcast, we're going to go there. So just know, he's like, yo, it's no problem. So I'm letting you know, bro, like, here we go. I know that question makes you resonate to a lot of men because there's this fad of being too tough for our own good. And I want men to see that you don't have to be tough 24/7 and it's not healthy for you. So please explain how the love of a woman changed you, bro. Please.
Yeah, 100%. So if anybody's taking any notes, I do want to drop a couple of gems real quick, right?
Let's get it.
In the personal development space, whenever anybody is going after a goal or a dream or a vision, typically one of the steps towards achieving that, we talk about creating a major why. And so I heard a long time ago, and I've adopted this principle of creating something called the 7-layer why, because we want to find out, why do I really do what I do? We're all motivated by either the need for pleasure or to get away from pain. That is the only reason we do anything. And so I needed to figure out very, very early on in my entrepreneurial journey, what's going to make me tick? Like, what makes me tick? What makes me go? What's going to make sure that I follow through on this process until it gets done? Because honestly, a lot of people are going after the cars, clothes, homes, different things like that, but that's not going to sustain you. And they're wondering, why do I keep stopping? And so the 7-layer why is pretty simple, man. It's really just having somebody that you truly, truly care about and them asking you, why do you want what you want? And so somebody asked me that one day. They were like, hey, why do you want what you want? I was like, well, I want to live a better life. I want to take care of my family. I want to take care of my wife, my kids. I just want to live a better life. And they were like, okay, well, why is that so important to you? And we're going a layer deeper. And I said, well, it's important to me because, the Bible says a great man leaves an inheritance for his children's children's children, right? And they said, okay, well, why is that important? Why is being a great man important to you? And I was like, well, being a great man is important because, that's what men do. A great man once told me that a good man takes care of everything and everyone that he's responsible for. And they were like, tell me a little bit more about that. What do you mean? Why is that important? Taking care of everyone you're responsible for. And if you notice what I'm doing right now, the answers are going from my head lower and lower to my heart.
Correct.
And so you want to have a box of Kleenexes, and I'm trying to get emotional. But as I'm going deeper and deeper, they're asking me the same thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's important to me because, growing up, I had a father figure, I had a stepfather, and they did the best they could. But financially, they weren't able to take care of everything that they were responsible for, at least not up to the standard that I have for my life now. And then they say, okay, well, why is that important? What do you mean the standard? Like, why is it so important to make sure you're taken care of? And long story short, man, when I got to level 7 of this why, what I ended up sharing was a story that I'll never, ever forget. My mother, Sabina Arrington from Cleveland, Ohio.
Shout out to Mom Duke.
Yeah,
Shout out to
Mom. So I'll never forget, man. I was 4 years young, and my father, I get one of the most horrible traits from him. He was late to everything. And I'm working on that. God is working with me. Thank God for grace and mercy.
Facts.
But he was late to everything, and he typically didn't show up when he said he was going to. And so I'll never forget, man, I'm 4 years young. My mother is working 3 different jobs. She's working a job in the morning. She's working a job in the afternoon. At night, she's working again. And I remember she used to pick me up every single night from my godmother's house or my aunt's house or a family member's home. And so I very rarely saw her. But when I did see her, she wasn't even sleeping. She was usually working on her schoolwork. So imagine that. You have a child, you're a single mother, 3 different jobs, and you're going to school. And so I'll never forget one day my father had promised that he was coming to pick me up. She had some things to do. I believe she had to get to work. And this is like 88. And I don't know if you ever remember like the Ford Escort's hatchback, but she had one of those. And it was a horrible car. It was on its last leg. And we lived in Cleveland, Ohio. And if anybody's familiar with Cleveland, there's a road that goes from East Cleveland. I was raised on 72nd and Woodland in Cleveland. Shout out. You don't want to be caught there at night, right? But I remember there's a road leading from East Cleveland into Shaker Heights, where my aunt was living. And I believe it was Chagrin Boulevard, but there's this huge hill that leads up out of poverty, literally, like going up the hill, going up to the good side. And I'll never forget, she was already frustrated because he had not come when he said he was. She was already frustrated because he had broken promises many, many times before. And as a child, we think that we're not feeling those things, but those are emotions that never, ever leave us. To this very day, I can feel how I felt in the passenger side of that car, not seeing my mother crying, but she was physically upset. You ever seen somebody that just, they were agitated?
Right.
And so I remember we were going up the hill. The transmission is slipping, and you can hear the car revving, and you can tell she's getting more and more upset and agitated and at some point angry. And finally, we had to pull over to the side of the road because literally the car was no longer going. Like it was struggling to get up the road. All of a sudden, all this smoke comes from the inside of the car. The smoke was lifting out of the hood of the car. And I look over at my mom, and she began to weep. But it was a type of cry where there was no whimper, there was no sound. It was like that deep disappointment where you don't even have the energy to cry. And I'll never forget looking at my mom. She gets out the car and she opens the hood, and she doesn't work on cars, but right. She just opened the hood to find out what was going on. The smoke is coming up. All the cars are going by, looking at us. And I remember sitting on the side with her, and she finally began to cry, and some tears dropped, man. And I remember, bro, like I remember like at 4, like telling my mom that it's going to be okay. Like I remember trying to console her and trying to love on her. And for years, I believe that my mother always got the short end of the stick. My mother is one of the most noble, loving, honorable people I've ever met in my life. My mother is a Jehovah's Witness. So I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. And for years, even when she got remarried, stepfather mentally, physically abused us. And just for years, I just always wanted to take care of my mom. Like I always knew that when I got older and I was going to take care of my mother. When I turned 18 years old as a Jehovah's Witness, you can get baptized. My mother is a devout witness. I mean, she is dedicated to everything in that religion. We separated when I turned 18. I'm 38. I haven't had a conversation with my mother since I was 18. My mother lives about 10 minutes away from me. And so when I tell you the love of a woman, God brought somebody new into my life. And for years, a challenge of mine has been in honoring women. The only vice I've ever had in my life is women. And it wasn't until very, very recently that I even realized that a part of the challenge I've had in that area was because of the traumatic loss of my mother. And so when I say this woman coming into my life, I don't know if it's necessarily something that she did, but I know it's something that God did. I know he had to send someone that in many ways embodied the love of my mom. And so for years I had been with different women, but she was the first one that I actually wanted to be better for. Like she was the first one. Like I've always been extremely ambitious and driven, but she was the first one that made me like I couldn't perform in front of her. Does that make sense? Like
Absolutely.
I perform. I am a speaker. Like
Right.
when the lights are on, you ain't gotta tell me nothing.
No.
You know what I mean? It's time to go. But for once, I didn't have to. I didn't have to be this personality anymore.
You'd have to perform for her.
And so what that allowed me to do is to see that vulnerability is okay. To see that loving someone unconditionally is okay. Right. And by no means am I, to this day, like by no means am I perfect, right? But around that time, she allowed me to see, hey, this is why fatherhood is so important. There was a tremendous imbalance in my life when it came to me being concerned with Damon. But when she came, because of who she is and who she embodies, she automatically forced me to think of someone else besides myself. And that changed everything.
She created. So would I be stepping out if I say she helped you find purpose in life? Like her love helped you find the purpose to keep going on?
No. I think I knew my purpose very, very early on, but she allowed me to pursue it without condemnation.
Oh, got you. Now I understand. Completely.
Yeah. She allowed something pure to come out of this sinful soul of mine. You know what I mean?
Bro, I was sitting over here, and I know you probably seen. I was trying to fight him back a little bit because you said tragic. Like you spoke about your mother like she's no longer here.
Yeah.
That hurts. Especially because you said she lives 10 minutes away.
Yeah, man.
Bro, as someone who shout out to Sharon, everybody knows Sharon by now. I can't imagine, bro. I can't imagine like what that must feel like. Because the way you said it and described it, and you didn't bat an eye, you didn't move. Like it didn't change the structure of your conversation. That means that's a part of you now. Like, bro, that's your mom, bro. How do you deal with this? I need to know this because because my heart is racing right now, just the thought of losing my mother. So knowing she's still alive and not be able to contact her because of a belief, bro, how are you who you are right now?
So,
bro, my bad, bro. But this one got to me. This one, I can't imagine. My bad. I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah, it's okay. So again, I didn't even come to a realization of what had happened until about, it was really 3 years ago.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like I was just living my life.
Right.
So I was very ignorant to the fact that I was hurting up to about 3 years ago. And I remember somebody asking me like, I think, oh, this is what happened. Okay. It's coming back to me. So what ended up happening is like, okay, we pretty much cut off conversation. And there was one time I'll never forget, my younger sister is 7 years younger than me. Mm-hmm. And so I was about 25 when she graduated from high school, and she invited me to the graduation.
Okay.
And again, I'm living my life, and I'm not even in town anymore, so I'm very rarely here. I'm used to being separated from a parent because my father lives in Cleveland and I live in Columbus, Ohio. So to me, the distance, like not talking, like she still had contact with my children. So it just didn't register. But here's what happened. I remember I went to the graduation, and afterwards, families typically go together and they, everybody's taking pictures and everything. And I remember in the midst of us taking pictures, I walked over to my mom, and it had been a while since I spoke to her. Like I'm fully aware that I'm disfellowshipped, right? That I can't, based on religious standards, speak to my mom. And I remember telling her like, Mom, listen, I'm doing really, really well for myself. Things are going great in my life. I would love to take you out and have lunch or dinner. Like I'd love to sit down and just talk to you. It's been a while. And and she looked at me and she said, now, Damon, I can't do that. And like, again, it didn't register like even in that moment, man, I was like, okay, all right, cool. Like, yeah, no worries. I forgot. I get it.
My bad.
My bad. And I sincerely meant that because in my mind, like this abandonment trauma had been shoved so deep. I saw a meme the other day that said Black men deal with trauma by going out to get rich. And so I had been so busy in the pursuit of things, in the pursuit of my dream, in the pursuit of women, in the pursuit of money. I had been so busy that the trauma never had a chance to show up. But I remember, man, anytime I was watching a movie, anything that would happen on TV, if it had a sentimental moment between a mother and son, like I would lose it. Like I would cry like a baby. And I remember Tierra just like, because I don't never cry. And she was like, what's up? Like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. It's just, that sentimental moment, you know what I mean? And she said, no, you need to talk to your mom. And so again, for years, I had continued to reach out. But long story short, I went to an emotional intelligence and leadership retreat 3 years ago. And during the retreat, there's an exercise they do to where you have to forgive your parents. And it's I'm not going to go through the whole exercise, but basically at some point in the exercise, you have to visualize yourself as a baby in your crib and you're looking up at your parents. And so me, Damon Dillard Jr., visualizing seeing Sabina Dillard at that time, Damon Dillard Sr., at 23 and 21, remembering who I was at 23 and 21, had no choice but to forgive. Because it's like we all, I don't know if this was the direction of the podcast, but we all literally are taking this massive journey back to our childhood.
Yes.
You literally just said it. You were like, man, I wish I could have a conversation with my grandfather and my great grandfather, because the truth of the matter is, man, we are still carrying burdens from generations ago.
Yes, sir.
And the truth of the matter is, I don't think enough people are having this conversation because we are pursuing the next play.
Yes.
And so we end up getting the play. It works. Man, I remember my biggest thing, like, first it was 6 figures, right? Like, and I remember getting there, man. I was like, so what's for dinner? Like, it was not what I thought it was gonna be.
Right.
You know, and so, like, ultimately, I'm in therapy now, right? Mm-hmm. And I told my therapist, like, usually when I get a coach or a business coach or anything, we're talking about the financial goals. And at this point last year, I said, you know what? What I really want is I want peace. Like, I want to be at peace. Wow. I want to be at peace. I want to forgive my parents. I want to forgive myself. I want to forgive. I just want to forgive. And you know, I think about stories in the Bible, man. What's crazy is when you even think about the story of Job, who had everything. He had everything.
Man, boss.
He was a boss. And check this out. Like, some people don't navigate through that story to really see the principles in there that allowed him to get double.
Talk about it.
Most people think that the principle that allowed him to get double is when he dropped on his hands while he was sick and his wife was cursing God, that God saw that he was worthy of getting everything back. That wasn't what did it. And most people think it is. They're like, oh man, like, listen, Job, he was always faithful with God. I can't remember the adjectives that the Bible used, but, you know, his children, like, he had it all, and it was all wiped away. His wife was saying, listen, just curse God. Like,
that's it.
Crazy. I've lost my children now. I've lost my cattle. I've lost my worth. I've lost everything. Job, you are sick and dying. Curse God. Get this over with. Haven't we had enough? And Job dropped to his knees. Watch this. Even the word in itself said that he was silent. God was silent. Job is praying. Please allow this. God is silent. Until Job stated that he forgives the friends that were cursing God and his wife. And in that moment, he received double. Mark 11:24 states, when you stand praying, believe that you have received it and you shall have it. But before you can do that, God doesn't even hear your prayer until you forgive. And so the process that I'm growing through right now, I don't think forgiveness is a moment. Like, forgiveness is a consistent journey and decision.
Yes, absolutely.
And so that's where we are right now, man. I could go on about that, but
no, I implore you to go on, because, bro, I just been telling my aunt on the phone right before we got on the call that someone else's testimony is someone else's therapy to get through. You understand? Like, what you're talking about right now and the direction that this podcast is going is literally the divine's work. So, bro, first of all, thank you for you being as transparent as you've been, bro, because you don't have to. But the journey of healing that you're on, yo, bro, I appreciate. As a man, as your brother, I appreciate the journey of healing that you chose to take. Because, bro, I got emotional, as you've seen, when you begin to speak about your relationship with your mother, because that's my rock. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we've been through ups, downs, arounds, and we're still here. And there are a lot of things that we're still working through to get through. Pains. Me and my aunt spoke about a few minutes ago. There's so many things in our family that we need actual family therapy to get through. But when I see a young man like yourself who's taking on the fight, right? You didn't shy away from it. You've taken on the fight of healing. Bro, I got to commend you for that. Because you could literally be like, well, forget it, I don't care. Like, behind that little facade that we put on, or the I don't care facade, or I'm good, I'm in my bag, all these things that we say to use as deterrents from our real feelings and blocks from expressing what we really feel. And I'm blessed in this space because I've grown just now by you expressing your vulnerabilities and you sharing that with that in depth. And I'm talking about in depth share with about your mother, bro, because I'm still in that part of the conversation. But I want to talk about the nugget you dropped about the 7 layers deep. Yeah. Now, bro, when you said about talking to that baby in the looking at you as your parents as a baby, I had someone express to me that you had to make peace with your inner child, and it was like you said, an exercise. Yeah. And for me, I did it by myself in this very office that I'm sitting in one night, and I think it was the most. It wasn't traumatizing, but it was a traumatic experience because, man, the tears that I shared in here, and I almost couldn't breathe. Like you cry so hard to where you're looking for oxygen. I was in here like pulling at this table and almost going into like panic attacks because that level of forgiveness that I had and grief I had towards like my mother for not having my father around, like not being grown up with a man that I can trust. You know what I'm saying? Like every man that ever came into my life either was there for a moment and disappeared or said he would be there forever. And something happened or God took his life, and I was so tired of being hurt by men. You understand? So when you express, bro, like that going deeper, like I'm sitting here trying not to get too emotional, bro, because the more I think about how much, and I'm literally in therapy for the same thing, is like that. Okay. That pain of the void of abandonment, bro, I feel it and I deal with it daily. And I tell my son all the time, he's 4 years old, like, yo, you heal me in ways I didn't know I could be. And I also realize that if I don't get the help that I need, I'm gonna smother him with the love that I wish I had from a man. So when I hear you talk about the abandonment and the situation with your mother, bro, and then I tell you that I'm grateful because you prove to me that there's help. You prove to me that, like, yo, if you stay consistent, you can get through these things. Because as you can see, I'm still working through these things, bro. And it's a daily fight, like you said earlier, bro. It's a daily fight and grind to make sure that these demons that we wrestle with do not transfer over into our children. And this is back to the fatherhood part. Like, bro, how has these things affected you being a father?
I think in many ways it made me cold. Yeah, if I had to be completely transparent, I think it made me feel like without the level of awareness that I have right now, like in this moment, looking back over the last 17 years, it made me very, very cold towards the necessity of parenting. Because the truth of the matter is, like, abandonment didn't start for me at 18. Like, abandonment comes in many different forms. Abandonment could be, I mean, in many ways it was her desire for me to conform to a certain religious practice. You know what I mean? Like, that is a form of abandonment. You know what I mean? So for me, like, I think I just became very, very cold, and I wasn't even aware of it. Like I said, I was very selfish. This is challenging for me. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I'm kind of at a loss for words right now. And I'm never that, right? I'm never that.
It's the real deal, though, man. Like, this is it. This
Yeah.
is healing in real time. And so I'm gonna give you a second, and I just want to say something to the audience right now. If this is difficult for you to hear, if this is difficult for you to listen to, this is a good thing for you to pay attention to. There's healing involved with understanding, like, yo, going back and dealing with your past will help your future. So this is not something we're just doing just for habit stance, or we got nothing better to do than sit on this podcast and cry all day. Because definitely we got things better to do. But the truth is, this is what we're doing for the generations to come. So if you feel a little triggered, if you feel like that this is hard to bear, or it's pulling on your emotions, good. Stay strong through it. Okay, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure how it affected me. I'm always looking to improve. And man, one of my favorite quotes, and I say it all the time, is a quote from Einstein. The problems that we currently have cannot be resolved with the same level of thinking that created them. And so for me, I'm always seeking wise counsel, which I say that tongue in cheek, because at the beginning of this past summer, what I realized, especially in the personal development space, with all the gurus and talking heads out there, we can kind of get convoluted in the idea of mentorship.
Correct.
And begin to worship our mentors
when
they got the same problems we do.
Talk about it.
So man, I think the best things that ever happened is me getting my therapist. Shout out Carmen. I think she's probably with clients at this point, because I'm always shouting her out. And then, man, me understanding and learning about fasting. That's really helped me. Man, you know, I was gonna say this to you a little bit earlier. I think when you're in pursuit of your purpose, like, even if you don't know your purpose, I believe that when you're in the pursuit of that thing, you will be introduced to your deficiencies automatically.
Wait 1 second. Please say that one more time, because that's a whole bar right there. What?
Yeah. Yeah. When you're in pursuit of that thing, you'll be introduced to your deficiencies, and like, man, I think about that, because the only reason that I've found mentorship, that I've found coaching, that I've found therapy, that I've found that I had abandonment issues or trauma or any of that stuff is because I've been in pursuit. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
There's no way I can elevate to the levels that God has even set out for me without me shedding some of the old belief systems I've had.
Correct.
And so, like, I love personal development, but I think some people get it incorrect in thinking that personal development is striving to become a new person. That's not what it is at all. What it is reconditioning your mind to the way that God originally created you to be. When you and I were created, we were created perfect.
Correct. And the likeness.
Right? Like,
right.
It's so funny when I coach people now, and they tell me, like, they may be afraid to put out their offer, or they may be afraid to knock on a door or present to a client. And I'm like, okay, that's why we do the personal development, because I need you to remember who you are. Like, when you come into a better recognition of who you are. So when it comes to the traumas, abandonment issues, anything that anybody's ever been through, like, those are things that we need to take to God, not necessarily a therapist, because that's really the only person that can heal us. And I'm just grateful for my therapist's relationship with God, because that's who she always brings me back to.
Bro,
And
that's a phenomenal. That's the foundation of everything, bro.
yeah, and I do want to say this because, like, I don't want anybody to say, well, listen, Damon, I'm not a religious person. If anybody's been jaded from religion, it's this guy right here. Right?
Right.
Like, listen, like I've almost got into physical altercations with pastors who have been trying to force me to come to church. And I'm like, listen, I'm trying. Like,
Right.
I don't think you get it. Right? Like, so I'm very, very spiritual. And I think relationship is always better than religion. But
Always.
yeah, man, like being in pursuit. Like, I even think about Moses, right? When Moses was in pursuit, when he was doing God's work, even Moses himself expressed to God his deficiency.
Right.
He said, I am slow of speech. Right? And so it's that insecurity that always tries to show up. But in God's love, he's like, listen, I know.
Right.
I'm gonna send you some help. I got you. And so hopefully this is helping somebody.
No, listen, if it ain't helping nobody else, it's helping me. They don't trip. You know what I mean? Like, if they taking this lightly and they just playing with this content, shame on them. But listen, like I said, bro, like, this is life changing the moments. Like, if someone, it's not even an if, I know it. I know that there's a man out there that needs this information, D. Like, I know it. Because
this is very different from my typical podcast, right? We're talking about money and achievement. I know my audience is like,
hey, listen, I'm
what is wrong
glad.
with this guy?
I'm glad, bro, because you know what it is? Even the people who follow you for the information and for what you do, like Pastor Jake said this past weekend, like, they're only gonna come in and see you and then be able to judge you because they don't know the hell you've been through to get to where you are. You see what I'm saying? Like, and this is why I always want to pull someone's story out on these podcast episodes, because, then you have a little bit more understanding, a little bit more respect about what someone's journey or where you may think they are based upon a perception. Because, bro, like I told you before I met you, bro, like, I was following you and I'm like, oh, this dude is doing his thing. Like, man, he always dropping jewels. This guy's on point. Yeah. And I automatically put you in the space. So when I seen you in person, I'm like, oh, snap. I follow you, and I'm not realizing, like, yo, you're a man just like I am. Yeah. Your story is literally why you're here. Yeah. And everyone has a story, bro. Like I told you, this past weekend really transformed my mindset, my thought process, and even me in this interview right now. If I would have did this prior to the event, bro, I'd have been sweating right now. Like, I'd have probably had to stop like 4 or 5 times to go get a paper towel and just be like, all right, chill. Let me calm my nerves, turn the fan off and on. Yeah. But I'm in my skin right now. I'm comfortable. I'm cool. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? Because I've been exposed to different things now. And once you've seen something, you can't unsee it, right? Once you've experienced something, you can't unexperience. So that's the reason why I'm grateful that even your audience right now got a chance to see your vulnerability and your transparency in this space. Because for the haters out there, right? This is poison for them, right? Your transparency is poison for them because you can't hold against me what I've already exposed to the world, right? And this is the message I want to leave to men out there, especially fathers. You can't heal, or God can't heal what you refuse to reveal, right? The biggest 2 things that you have to do when you're in this game, especially being a father, is be comfortable with being uncomfortable, vulnerable, and transparent. Because your children are dependent on it. In those 3 spaces as a man, bro, I've learned that is so much healing for generations to come. Like, I've learned before us, our parents thought to themselves, if we just put something under this carpet, swipe it under the rug, don't talk about it, it'll be cool, right? They used to tell us that, and what happens in this house better stay in this house, right? That was how we was all raised. But the truth of the matter is, all those times you sweeping something under that carpet, only thing going to happen is when you're no longer here to warn somebody about that big mountain, they're going to just trip and fall over. And that'll be our kids falling over our insecurities, right? falling all those false beliefs that we was holding in our heart, all those negative feelings and unhealed wounds that we had.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm not willing to do, bro. And this is the reason why I even have this podcast. So, bro, I know we went into a whole in-depth part of your life, bro. But as part of your business acumen and what you do, one more time, let the people know what you do and where they can find you, because it is worth to find. As you've seen, this gentleman has a lot to give based upon not only his information and knowledge, but his experience as well. So do me a favor in the audience, bro. Let them know where they can find you, know what you do, and where they can find you again, King.
Yeah, 100%, man. I help people get to the bag. You know what I mean? If you don't have a career path right now, first and foremost, we're going to help you get clarity on where you're going. Second, we can introduce you to a couple of different opportunities. I have an insurance agency. Right now, I'm helping insurance agents earn $250,000 a year within their first 12 months. And if you are a coach, if you are a consultant, if you are a thought leader and you have a voice for something, some of this stuff resonated with you, if you feel like you need to get out your story, that you want to help other people, the only reason that you may not be making what you want to make in that is because you don't know how to put together an offer. So I help people with that as well. And I'm excited to hear about all of your journeys. So you can find me on Instagram, Damon P. Dillard on Instagram. And you can find me on Facebook, Damon Dillard. You can find me on YouTube as well. Looking forward to connecting.
Man, listen. So we have an opportunity, fellas, to reach and touch a king right now that's willing to help. So listen, get your ego and your pride out the way and just get the help you need, man. He spoke about therapy, and you guys know on this podcast, we are pro therapy. Pro. Find a professional that can help you in the space because you know it's necessary. Our lives are living proof of it. You don't have to hold those wounds and continue to do it yourself. There are professionals that can help you. But also, when saying that, as you've seen, we referenced the man upstairs, our good father, the creator, many a times in this podcast. And as you know, I don't start one podcast without praying to him. Take it to him. He's the manufacturer. He's the one that created, right? Like, it's crazy because I'm not going to go to my brother Damon and say, bro, I'm having a problem with this YSL cologne, right? I need your help with this. You're going to look at me like, bro, what? You better go talk to the manufacturer. I had nothing to do with that. And it's the same thought process you got to have when it comes down to your heart issues, right? To the wound that you're harboring, to those devastating traumas that did happen to you. Mm-hmm. They did happen. Mm-hmm. But one thing I want to let you know is that, and God's going to constantly remind you once you tap in with him, is that it happened to you. It's not happening to you. So with that being said, get the help you need out there, fellas. I really appreciate everyone that's taking the time to spend this last hour with us. You know, as always, I know you could be doing anything in the world, but you chose to spend this time with me, and I am tremendously grateful. I do not take it lightly. So do me a favor. At this point in time, I need you to hit that like and subscribe button and get these algorithms to help me aboard. Get this phenomenal content out there to the people that really, really, really need it. So that's all I ask of you right now. Hit that subscribe button, get that word out there. And while you're doing all that, tapping on your phone, go over there, hit my man Damon on Instagram as well, and let him know you've seen him on this podcast and you loved what he said and all the information that he has been transparent about on this podcast. So with that being said, Kings, yo, D, I appreciate you, my brother. I love you, and I thank you for the time you are spending with me right now. You are doing phenomenal work. Keep doing you because the world needs it in a major way. So thank you one more time, King.
Love you. Yeah.
Yo, to the fellas out there, you know how I end this thing. To the world, you're just a dad. That's all you are. But to your family, you're the world. Don't you forget that. Now, until the next time I see you, be good to yourself and the ones around you. And if you can't be good to the ones around you, that's okay. I'm cool with that. Just get those people from around you. Yo, man, this is RJD, the Imperfect Gentleman, your men's confidence development coach. And this has been another dope episode of the Imperfect Fathers Podcast. Y'all be blessed because we will. Peace, Kings.